Cody?
Take a screenshot of it.
I got it.
What's your password?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
They're like, what good about that? Greetings to each of you. I'm Bishop Brandon Porter, General Board Member, Board of Directors, Secretary for the Church of God in Christ. On behalf of the Church of God in Christ, our presiding bishop, Bishop J. Drew Sheard, we're proud to welcome you to our world headquarters, the historic Mason Temple building, which was built in 1941 to 1945. Our founder, Bishop Charles Harrison Mason, during the Great Depression and, of course, World War II. Mason Temple is significant to this gathering and cause because approximately 55 years ago, my father, Bishop W.O. Porter, opened the doors of this facility to Dr. Martin Luther King for the Poor People's Campaign. That stormy night, April 3rd, 1968, Dr. King gave his last, most profound historic speech, "I've been to the mountaintop." Of course, later that next morning, he was murdered at the Lorraine Motel on the balcony right here in downtown Memphis. The need for justice has brought us here again. Mr. and Mrs. Wells, the Church of God in Christ stands with you to help demand and ensure that there is justice for Tyre. We salute the aggressive, gallant efforts of Attorney Ben Crump, his staff, as you, many of them, have served our black community and in some ways become the Attorney General for Black America. The focus of work for his staff, coupled with the electricity of spontaneity of the one and only Reverend Al Sharpton, who has renewed hope in those situations which often brought despair. Finally, to the family of Tyre Nichols, we want to thank you for calming the beast in many of us. It was through your loving, God-fearing spirit that spoke nonviolence to our communities across the world that caused the devastating awake that could have happened not to happen. Though, of course, here in the city of Memphis, we applaud the efforts of our police chief and, of course, our attorney general, our mayor, in their efforts to move swiftly, as it has been mentioned that this has become a benchmark and a blueprint for many. There's still much more work to do. But because of you, family, Ms. Wells and Mr. Wells, whom I've just met, but to watch you on the screens and to see you speak peace to a troubled nation, we must thank you. The Church of God in Christ, of course, our presiding bishop has asked the Church of God in Christ with our 6.5 million members, we're in 120 countries across the world. We're standing with you for justice for Tyre. We opened the doors 55 years ago for a just cause, and now we're opening the doors again for Reverend Al Sharpton to come and to speak life to dying situations. This is a pivotal time for America to band together so that there is justice for all. Bishop Talbot Swan is going to come because our presiding bishop is not able to be here. He did a special message for you, and he's going to read some of his remarks concerning these events. Bishop Talbot Swan, who is our Director of Social Justice for the Church of God in Christ and one of the leading NAACP presidents in Massachusetts. Bishop Swan is coming.
Thank you, Bishop Porter, Reverend Sharpton, and certainly to the family of Tyre Nichols. On behalf of our presiding bishop, the Bishop J. Drew Sheard, we want to offer our sincere condolences and our prayers are continually with this family and with this community. Nationwide, police have killed roughly 3 people per day consistently since 2020. The encounter with Tyre Nichols in Memphis, recorded on video, is a glaring reminder that efforts to reform policing have failed to prevent more flashpoint incidents and intractable epidemic of police brutality in this country. Nearly 32 years ago, Rodney King's beating by police in Los Angeles prompted heartfelt calls for change. And yet, here we are, 3 decades later, still calling for that change. We can call out the names of Amadou Diallo and Oscar Grant and Michael Brown and Tatiana Jefferson and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many more. The killing of Tyre Nichols points to a need for bolder reforms that go beyond simply diversifying ranks within police departments. Because we understand that racism is systemic and it is structural. And regardless of the race of the police officer, if you don't change the structure, it still disenfranchises and brutalizes black bodies. This case exposes an uncomfortable truth. More than 2 years since we all marched in the streets in the middle of a pandemic for George Floyd and gave lip service to passing a George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. It seems to me that the stomach to go forward with this change has seemed to left those that are now comfortably nestled in Congress, who are now saying fund the police and have forgotten about the promises that they have made to black people that put them in power. We've got to see some substantive change across this nation so that these types of incidents don't have us standing here time after time again singing from the same song sheet. My brothers and my sisters, Dr. King quoted the prophet Amos and said that justice should roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. He stood in this pulpit 55 years ago and he talked about getting to a promised land. He said, I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. May I suggest to you that as long as black bodies continue to be brutalized and extrajudiciously murdered on the streets by those that are charged to protect and serve, we haven't got there yet. We've got a long, long way to go. Let me close with the words of the late Reverend Dr. James Cone, because I want to also put out a challenge to our brothers and sisters in the faith community, that the sanctity of life includes those that are on our streets. It includes black boys and girls and black women and black children who are in our cities and in our schools. He said that any authentic theology must affirm that God is on the side of the oppressed. And we are here to say we stand with this family, we stand with God, we stand with Reverend Sharpton, and we stand with justice. The Church of God in Christ offers its prayers, but also we offer our support, we offer our voices to lift them up in this public sphere to say this has got to stop.
Yes, sir.
Let me say first and foremost that we are here to establish and proclaim that we are going to continue to fight this fight around police brutality and killing until we get federal laws changed. What happened to Tyre is a disgrace to this country. There's no other way to describe what has happened in this situation. People from around the world watched a videotape of a man unarmed, unprovoked, being beat to death by officers of the law. We talk a lot about gangbangers in the street and what colors they wear. In Memphis, it looks like they wear the blue color and uniform. When you can beat a man, chase him down and beat him some more, and then let him lay there wounded for over 20 minutes and think nothing would happen. You thought that no one would respond.
That's right.
You thought no one would care.
That's right.
Well, tomorrow the Vice President of the United States is coming to his funeral. And people are coming from all over the world. And we are coming because we're all Tyre now.
That's right.
And we're all going to stand up with this family.
That's right.
They will never, ever recover from the loss. Every holiday there'll be a missing chair at their table. Every day this mother and father and brothers and sisters will have to remember he's gone. But we will never leave them. Stephen Clark, who was killed in Sacramento by police, his brother's here tonight. He'll tell you his brother was killed years ago. He and I talk now as often as I talk to my brother. Sometimes I don't even talk to my brother, but that's a whole nother press conference. We stick with them. I brought Eric Gardner's mother is down with us. Many victims to stand with this family because this family is going to need all of our support. I want to thank Bishop Porter. I want to thank Bishop Swan. Certainly, I want to thank our presiding bishop, Bishop Sheard, who called me as soon as it happened and said that they're going to stand with the family. Tomorrow at the Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church, funeral will start at 10:30, and we will, I'll have a lot more to say at the funeral. But I wanted to make it clear tonight that we are here. Two of our national board members are with me of National Action Network, Reverend Stephanie Bartley, who also heads our NAN Tech Center, and the Reverend Johnny Green, who is on the national board, and pastors Mount Pisgah in New York. We took planes out of New York to make sure we were here with the family tonight. 55 years ago, Martin Luther King came to Memphis to fight for garbage workers. It was a rainy night, and he said that he didn't feel like he was going to speak. He sent Dr. Abernathy to speak. Dr. Abernathy got in the foyer of this church and saw it was full, and he went to the payphone and called back to Lorraine and said, Martin, you ought to come. And he come and stood in this pulpit and made a historic speech about I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. We wanted to bring this family the night before the funeral. The night before Dr. King was killed is where he spoke. And they're standing on that ground because we will continue in Tyree's name to head up to Martin's mountaintop. That's why we wanted to start this right on this sacred ground. This is holy ground. And this family now is ours, and they're in the hands of history. And they're in the hands of those that would fight. And let me say to those nefarious citizens, no rumors on Tyree is going to justify what was done to Tyree.